I took receipt of my new Hilux in March 2023. Discovered I had some issues with cracked weld on the paint, beg your pardon, some issues with cracked paint on the weld on the chassis. After some discussion with Toyota, they agreed to have it reviewed by Eastern Western Auto Repair Centre, one of their approved repair centres. On the 31st of August I took it in to have the repairs done, and I would just like to document for Toyota some of the repairs that have been done by the Eastern Western Auto Centre on their behalf. So I'm going to make this video for Martin at the Toyota Dunfermline dealership and anybody else who's interested. This car, I took order of it, or receipt of it, in March time 2023. It's now September 2023, and I have been conversing with Toyota all of this time because on receipt of the car, the paint on the welds on the chassis, on the majority of the welds, was cracked and broken, and I'm complaining because that will lead to premature corrosion. After a lot of back and forth and complaining, and also to the automobile ombudsman, Toyota agreed under warranty to repair the welds, not to repair the welds, but to repair the paint on the welds. Eventually we got it booked in for the 31st of March. Toyota have had the car now for 1 week. It's been to the body shop, and I just want to document the cleaning of the chassis, the preparation of the weld paint, the welds for repainting. I've got a little stick here, and I've got a torch. So on the passenger side, down the back, let me see if I can make a start somewhere. So you can see, hopefully, that the chassis certainly hasn't been cleaned. So if I run my finger along the weld paint here to clean it off, you can see, hopefully, as an example, paint is cracked all the way down along the weld, all the way along the weld, like literally all the way along the weld on both sides. You see there's pieces of corrosion. I don't know if it's clear in the video, hopefully it will be. Corrosion is starting. Not been cleaned as far as I can see. Similarly, along this weld here, if I rub my way into it, my finger, you can see the paint is cracked all the way along the weld, and I can't really get around to see the other side of that one. And while we're down the back here, and that's just an example, there are numerous examples all over the car of this issue. Given that the body shop have prepped the chassis welds for painting, really there's no evidence of it being prepped at all. Just as another example, and this is common all over the whole car, there's my finger cleaning off that weld. You can see, can you see? Yeah, there's my pointer. All the way down along the weld, the paint is cracked and broken and chipped and coming away, simply just about going to lead to premature corrosion. Again, cleaning the months of dirt off the car. Hopefully it's coming through in the camera, but if not, it's very easy to see this in real time. But the weld is cracked all the way along, all the way along. The weld, I beg your pardon, is not cracked. The paint on the weld is cracked. Moving forwards a little bit. The chassis was also supposed to have had a wax put on the inside. There is no evidence of that whatsoever. anytime I've seen that happen before, there's always been a bit of a drip. Again, just rubbing that weld seam there with my little pointer, you can see the paint is cracked all the way along. It's even come off there completely. Similarly here, if I clean it with my finger in my hand, another example here of cracked paint on the weld all the way around, right the way in, everywhere. It's just not been painted, or something has happened with the finishing of the car at the factory. The paint on the welds has failed all the way along here. Hopefully that's visible in the video. All the way along, you see the crack in the paint all the way along, and certainly on the top side, and I'm sure down the bottom of that as well. If I look here, you can see paint cracked all the way along. It's missing there. This is a piece of soft stick. The paint just is not attached to the car correctly. Again, here we have another example of it here. Well, these are all pretty serious structural components of the car. Certainly these haven't been cleaned and prepped for paint. So you can see all the way down along the weld, and lots of paint missing off the actual weld itself. The same along here. Sorry, the video is not very good. That bit there actually doesn't appear to be too bad. It's moving down here again. On the chassis, you can see the weld here all the way along. His paint is cracked, hasn't been repaired, and it's certainly not been cleaned. I mean, this is cow shit. If there's been any cleaning done on this, I'd be amazed. Up along, this is a main weld here. This is welding, appears to be welding two pieces of the chassis together. All the way up along, the paint is cracked. Again, that will certainly lead to premature corrosion, and that's just on the inside. I haven't even shown you other bits of it. I mean, we'd be here for ages documenting all of this. Again, there you can see if I clean this up here with my finger, you hopefully can see paint is cracked all the way up along this weld, right the way around and all the way back down. Maybe not all the way back down in this instance, but certainly some of the way back down. And so this is the problem that I have, or that I've been complaining about. You can see how much cleaning they've done on the chassis. Absolutely zero. So if the body shop have charged Toyota for cleaning and repairing this car, Toyota really should not. Again, in here we're supposed to get a body wax, a cavity wax thing, and you can see all the corrosion in there that's not been touched by any sort of wax whatsoever. Carrying on down along, let me see what else, any major parts. So if I clean all of that off, this is supposed to have been cleaned, of course. You can see that there's a crack in the paint all the way across there. That one actually looks okay. Here again, we're up here at the front of the car now. The paint all the way around that weld there is cracked on both sides. And these are just examples. The whole bottom of the car, all the chassis welds need to be Again up here, I don't know if you can see that. Let me see, where's my pointer? Here we are, yeah. This weld here, all the way around the weld, all the way down, back down the other side. The paint is all chipped and cracked and removed from the weld. You see here again, this is another major weld on the car. If I can get my torch to shine the light in, hopefully, where's my pointer? Here we are. Hopefully you can see crack paint all the way down and all the way up at the inside, and there's spots where paint has come off. Again here, I mean, I just have to clean off the welds to show you where all the cracks are. Cracked all the way, I never not even see that. So cracked all the way along, and not the crack, the weld is not cracked, the paint is broken all the way along this weld here. So clearly something happened while the car was being finished, the chassis was being finished. Again here, look, another major weld, paint cracked all the way, let me see, yeah, paint cracked all the way down the weld, at least from there to there, and certainly across the bottom. You can see that it hasn't been repaired in any way, and that's just the one side of the car, so we can, and that's only a fraction. I mean, there's I don't know if you can see that there. Everywhere that the car has been welded, there is cracks in the paint, and you can start to see corrosion coming through. And it's a brand new car. It was like this from day one, and I've been trying to get Toyota to look at this since day one. Here again, for example, if you take the dirt off, that's supposed to have been a cleaned chassis. If you can see all the way down along these welds, paint's all chipped off. And it's just the welds. It appears to be okay everywhere else. Again, these are just examples. I think almost every weld I've looked at, I can find damage to the paint. That's been there since the beginning, and I don't know if you can see that correctly, but this paint chipped here, and it's cracked in along there, all the way across down along, and all the way back up the other side. And this has been an ongoing battle with Toyota to get them to do this, but they have agreed. And so it went in a week ago for repair with a specified Toyota protocol. I don't know if you can see that, it's difficult under here. Cracks paint all the way along there and across the other side, and obviously there's chips missing. So it's almost like the welds themselves have not accepted paint. Similarly here, paint is missing there, but it's hard to argue that wouldn't be a chip, but in any case. All the way along this cross member here, where are we? Here, so you can see, maybe you can't see, I think that's it there. You can see all the way along that the paint's cracked. So I mean, it's not an issue at the moment. There's no major structural damage with the car, but all of this paint damage, and here's another major part of the chassis, all of this paint damage is going to lead to premature corrosion, which I think I shouldn't have to deal with, because it is in fact a brand new car. And it's been like this since I took receipt of the car. Again, here, I get the torch to shine correctly. You can see cracked paint all the way down along that weld, and chips missing off the weld. Similarly on that side of that weld, cracked paint all the way down, chips missing. And the main part of the chassis appears to be okay, but everywhere that there's a weld, we have this problem. So this is really just to document. I mean, you can see how much cleaning has been done. For example, they have not cleaned this in any way, as far as I can see, and it's supposed to have been cleaned. This dirt is not from the drive home yesterday. The weather has been beautiful, the roads have been dry, This is, a lot of this is cow shit. Look at this up here, you can see, if I clean off the dirt, all the way up along, this is this metalwork here is holding on a structural part of the car, holding on the body to the chassis. This has been welded all the way around. You can see, apart from the terrible welding, cracked paint all the way along, all the way along, all the way along, which is on my torch, right the way up and all the way back down again, if you can see on the video, all the way, and lots of chips missing off the weld. So it's just an example of the frequency. I would say 90% of all welds on this car have had paint that hasn't adhered to the weld and is cracked along the weld seam. Again, you can see it here, right the way along there and along here, cracked paint and then chips missing on paint on the weld. And I see there's some dirt collecting in there. Need to free that out. Thank you. Again, all the way along here, I've already shown this one in the video. So to Martin Scott at the dealership, who is the sales or the service manager, who has assured me this has been done according to spec, I can't see any work at all having been done on the bottom of this car, Martin. And for Anita, who is the customer service person from the team who I've copied into these emails, none of the welds in the chassis appear to have been attended to, and you can see more cracked weld there, all the way up along there, down along there. It's just examples. They are right throughout the bottom of the car.